Hi, I'm Helen Weatherall, and I'm here today with Carrie Bates, the head of our Recreation and Culture Department at the Ipswich Town Hall. And we're here to talk about Ipswich Illumination that is happening this year, and like everything, is different this year. So Carrie's going to talk to us about how it's different.
Thank you, Helen. This year, we're celebrating Illumination as a season. So from September 15th through October 31st, we're inviting people out into the autumn to walk the river as it runs through the heart of our downtown and community. And we know that you will be glad you came out to enjoy the river. But in addition to the river just being sort of a beautiful corridor, we're going to be having some public art, a lot of participatory activities, some pop-up performance. It's kind of like a grab bag in that you never know when you're going to be rewarded.
So you and I have been talking now for a couple of days. So we're getting used to the shape and form of this thing. And the people listening, it's going to be all new.
Yep. So the state of Massachusetts has a pretty serious recommendation that events are less than 50 participants. So by spreading the celebrations out across the two dimensions of time and space, we are giving people space to breathe, if you will, and for people to come and take part in the various aspects of the ongoing celebration that are particularly meaningful to them. So for example, many people love the shadow dance, which is on the lawn of the Haskell house.
All right.
That is going to be in place for all 6 weeks, and it will be activated by a motion sensor detector. Okay. So you could be out walking at 2 o'clock in the morning and the whole town is yours. Beautiful. And you could engage with the shadow dance. Also, the photo op is going to be on a motion sensor. There'll be more solar lights this year, so projects will be gathering the solar energy by day. Nice. And then glowing on the river at night. So there'll be things that are in place for the entire time. There will also be things that are sort of more ethereal. They'll be there and then gone. So we invite people to come out and come again, because when you come, there'll be different projects
evolving,
in place.
Changing.
And again, there will be some performance projects, but there will not be a schedule or a map. One of the philosophies that we're using this year in celebrating Illumination as a season, again, to give people room to breathe and to respect social distancing, is that we are not going to be amplifying our public outreach through media. And it's kind of a little bit of a social experiment. What we want to kind of see is the actual social weave of our actual physical human being to human being community. So we're encouraging people, performers specifically, who are giving of themselves freely and generously to enrich our cultural life, to invite an audience of their own, right? Okay. So each performer will, have their neighbors and family and friends so that they can play to a warm and welcoming and encouraging audience. And in addition to that, there'll be those who just hear the call, come out wherever you are, right? And walk the corridor, and you might be pleasantly surprised. Mm-hmm. So we're hoping that the universe will collude with us, mm-hmm. and that we'll be able to have healthy audiences, because 50 people is that's a lot of people to come out at any specific time. Mm-hmm. But what we have to avoid is the kind of crush that over the years Illumination has been able to attract, mm-hmm. from well beyond our own community. It's really a celebration of ourselves, for ourselves, of ourselves.
And it is beginning now, essentially. But one important thing to keep in mind for everyone is that this is participatory and collaborative. Yes. I would like it if you could talk a little bit more about that.
So Out Terrace is an installation that the community has done in collaboration with EBSCO. It's the tent down by the Alan Pearsall murals on the riverfront. It's got beautiful box gardens that were donated by Umesh from Zoomies, and people have been coming and having takeout and enjoying lunches and gatherings with friends. And so at that location, we are going to put up a temporary stage, a stage that will be in place for the 6 weeks of the season of Illumination. Okay. there will be times when that stage is scheduled because a band that has 6 members have said, we're going to play there at that time. And we certainly wouldn't want 2 bands with 6 members each to think, oh, I'm going to play on that particular Saturday night. So certain things are planned just so that they run smoothly. That stage, however, will be there 24 hours a day, 6 weeks, 7 days a week. And for the most part, it's an open stage and anybody can come and play. So it's been such a wonderful season for me with Out Terrace. There's been a number of groups, and I'll call out Essex River Rounders, who called us and said, can we rehearse at Out Terrace? They were rehearsing in a church basement and they were concerned because it was a confined space. And so they've been rehearsing at Out Terrace. And it has just been absolutely delightful for people who happen to be there, playing Monopoly or sharing a bag lunch with a friend or taking lunch out on the river from one of our restaurants.
If you have an idea, is there anyone that they need to call, or do they need to call you? Do they need to call your office? Do they need to plan anything?
Such a great question, right? So my phone number is, and I'll put it on the screen, 978-375-0324. And anybody with an idea, a bright idea to bring to the season of Illumination, who feels like they need to collaborate with coordinators, can call. And the answer is yes, right? We're going to find a way, to encourage everybody to be part. So this morning, for example, I was down on the riverfront measuring something for an installation, and somebody had hung prayer flags on the footbridge, and I was like, oh, that's so perfect, right? And last year, there's an artist who, started painting rocks, and they just appeared sort of everywhere in the corridor where illumination happens. And, after the season of Illumination, that person kept sort of putting these beautiful little tokens of goodwill out into the community.
Right.
So it's that kind of thing that we are hoping to encourage, inspire, and sometimes coordination is necessary.
Right.
And so by all means, please feel free to call, whether your idea is big or small. But mostly, illumination is what we bring to it, right? It's like a stone soup party, right? So the bonfires have been redesigned, and they're going to be much easier to put in and out. So obviously, we won't be burning firewood on the rivers every single night of the season. There's been a number of nights that have been identified because the tide works for the people who tend the bonfires.
Right.
And the bonfires won't cover the entire river as they have in the past, when it was, for many years, just one night. And then last year we expanded into 2 nights. So, the bonfires will be clustered around activities. So it's kind of, it's kind of like an Easter egg hunt in a way, right? You want to come out and you're going to have fun because we live in a beautiful town, and maybe you'll see neighbors and friends who you haven't seen in a while. And then, there will be these pleasant surprises.
So you mentioned some things that people have become familiar with in other Illuminations years. And 2 of my favorites are the dance performance under the bridge, and another one is from last year, The Americans Who Tell the Truth. And I'm just curious if we'll have repeats of any of that.
Air Meets Water, it was from the Ipswich Moving Company, Janet Kraft, and Jenny Carlson was a favorite, one of the dancers who's been on with that project from the beginning. That project will not be reprised this year for a constellation of complicated reasons.
Okay.
However, there will be 2 nights when the Green Street Bridge is closed, and the Ipswich Community Band, which is a real favorite from Illumination, will play from there. The bridge is now lit, thanks to Eric Mitchell from Northeast Nursery. If you haven't been out after dark, please come. The Green Street Bridge just glows as the evening comes.
It's beautiful.
There'll be bonfires floating on the nights when the bands are playing. I also want to say that on another night, the Brewing Brass Band will be playing, and they are sponsored by Cape Ann Cannabis. And that's going to be a really exciting night because that band is going to be prepared to move too. So they may start on the Green Street Bridge, but we'll be able to follow them.
I think you sort of mentioned the Americans Who Tell the Truth, but you did mention it to me, and I was really excited about it last year. And
so that's a project that's organized by a committee led by Merrill Beyer. Last year, it filled up, I think it was July or maybe June with it was
right into August.
Right, so many local artists got really excited by the theme, right? So that project is around a group of portraits painted by Robert Shutterly, and they will be hanging at Zoomies this year. Some of the events that were inspired by that project will be reprised, so that's all of October. Right, so it overlaps with Illumination. So we'll have the Truth or Dare chairs out on the River Walk for the month of October.
See, I don't know what that is. What is the Truth or Dare?
So that's just a fun little installation. We've got a couple of those director's chairs, and then there's some Truth or Dare questions.
Beautiful, I love that.
And they're thoughtful and provocative, and we hope that people will sit, opposed to a friend.
I love
and
it.
then some of the dares, ask people to engage with others who happen to be walking by. Some of the questions are like, where do you fall on the risk,
spectrum,
adversity, category, or how do you feel about lying, or where do your prejudices lie, right? Like, can we be honest about our prejudice?
Right.
So it's so interesting because Illumination this year, the season of Illumination, has really invited people who are already inspired about things, right? So there's been a couple of themes that have come out. So Orchestra on the Hill, they did these wonderful little video studies on various themes with original composition. So those will be part of Project Project, and they will be projected across the river. There was two students from Triton High School contacted me. They've created a documentary about fish migrating in the Ipswich River. Beautiful. And they're interested in screening that on the Ipswich River. So that will happen on the river in the season of Illumination. You never know exactly when that's going to happen, so come out, walk the river. There's been a number of different artists who already had projects, and they are finding this season of Illumination as a platform to share those projects. So I just want to talk about the Haskell House Gallery, which is right in the heart of our river campus. And there's two artists that are booked there for a week, really outstanding works. Brett Gamache, and he'll be at the Haskell House from September 29th to October 5th, and Janet Esposito from October 20th to the 25th. Inside of those schedules, a young woman named Amberly, who grew up here in Ipswich, is curating a show called Celebrating Our Differences. And I'm very excited about that. She's invited 6 young artists who grew up here in Ipswich, who were in one way or another not in the majority, and how that experience is playing itself out in their art as young people.
I think that's really exciting.
So outside of the Haskell House, we're going to screen some films related to the theme, and it's going to be kind of a rave, so a masquerade, if you will. One of the important aspects of this year's project is sort of an overarching theme. And the town has purchased 2,000 of these 100% cotton washable, reusable masks. And we're in collaboration with a couple of young entrepreneurs, Owen Barnes and Kane Avery. Owen has a company called Owen's Artifacts. And so they're going to help us really express ourselves on these masks. And people will be able to decorate their mask in whatever way that they want to. So we are ultimately, part of Illumination is to have a mask parade.
Beautiful.
Right, so that's a pun on masquerade, right? We'll wear our, creative masks. And the very last day of Illumination is October 31st. And I know that the downtown trick-or-treating is not going to happen this year, and it is quite likely that the door-to-door trick-or-treating will have to be reimagined this year. So we are really hoping that people will, participate in this mask parade. And on October 31st, the last day of the season of Illumination, wear your costumes and come out.
And again, I'll just make a
townwide
point.
costume party.
just remind people again the point that this is ever evolving, and so if people listening, an idea sparks of some way that you could add to this, make it more interesting, respond to the change of the Halloween, take the opportunity to bring your idea to it.
We'll have the Truth or Dare chairs out on the River Walk for the month of October.
I don't know what that is. What is the Truth or Dare?
So that's just a fun little installation. Okay. We've got a couple of those director's chairs, and then there's some Truth or Dare questions.
Beautiful, I love that.
And they're thoughtful and provocative, and we hope that people will sit, opposed to a friend.
I love it.
And then some of the dares, ask people to engage with others who happen to be walking by. Some of the questions are like, where do you fall on the risk,
spectrum,
adversity, right, category, or how do you feel about lying, or where do your prejudice lie, right? Like, can we be honest about our prejudice?
So one thing came to mind too is, as everyone out there knows, so many of our businesses are involved with this Illuminations. So I'm thinking one option, if you want to get sort of clued into what's going on, is you could actually just ask. If you're dropping in to say True North to pick up some beer, you could say, hey, fill me in. What's going on here, this week, if anything.
So if you go out and you enjoy something on Illumination, it would be really nice if you talked about that with your neighbors and said, hey, there's stuff going on downtown in the evenings and during the day and in this autumn season, which is really such a beautiful time here in New England.
I happen to love street art, so I like chalk art. You can see these incredible portraits and incredible sort of illusionist pieces sometimes done in great cities, our own and abroad. And Carrie said, sure, you want some chalk? I'll get you chalk.
So today...
So that's Carrie's response always. You want something? You want to contribute? Yes. And she has the answers how to do it.
So today we put up Chalk the Walk on the Riverwalk. So there's little buckets and chalk in little containers so they can hopefully endure the rain. And we hope that people will chalk the walk and go beyond and add color. We love chalk because, like projection, it's a way to express ourselves on our canvases, on our surfaces, without doing any permanent change to things. So it's temporary, it's fleeting. Right. And it's
so there's Chalk the Walk, but could people do it if they had their own street or a stretch of sidewalk? They thought, geez, it might be really fun to do something here.
Right. So I love that. And the answer is yes. The answer is always yes, right? So at the Business Roundtable, we were talking about this theme of stars, right? Because there's some communities who've been putting stars in their windows, light up stars, to celebrate the first responders and the essential workers who kept us all going when COVID we were really in lockdown, and there was so much that we didn't know. So there will be some stars out as part of Illumination this year as a nod and a salute and a thank you to those those people who kept us going. And so we are inviting people to put paper lanterns in their windows or on their doorsteps or stars. Right. Yeah. So Illumination, started in the river basin, but we hope it spills out into our downtown, into the business community, into our hearts, onto our porches, down our streets, and into our neighborhoods.
So what you just did for me by saying that is you reminded me of the word illumination, and that it's really encouraging people to interpret illumination. Yes. You illuminate ideas, you illuminate literally with light.
Yes.
There's lots of ways to illuminate.
There's a couple things that I just want to get you excited about. Blaine Hubble from American Voice has invited an amazing lineup of local poets, and they will be performing at Out Terrace from time to time. Again, you never know exactly when, but that's going to be fabulous. Vicki Hughes has a wonderful film that will be screening. It's called Finding Our Voices. Orchestra on the Hill. We've got some blues bands. They'll be playing at Out Terrace. Gnarly Charlie. The Dragon. If you got to see The Dragon last year.
I didn't.
Oh, well, it was on the cover of the Town Report for last year. Her name is Ipsy, and she was created by a local, well, not local anymore. He grew up in Essex. He now lives in Vermont. His name is Derek Rice. He is quite a gifted sculptor, and she will be back. So, find Ipsy on the Ipswich River.
Can you just tell us how big Ipsy is?
Oh, Ipsy is big. She is a dragon.
Woo.
Yeah.
Fire breathing.
Yes.
All right.
Yes,
All right.
yes,
Good,
yes.
good.
So she'll be out there. Bruin Brass Band. Oh, Illumination Yoga. There's a tent outside of the town hall by the football goalpost on Sundays from 9 to 10. Sarah DeCruz is going to be having yoga on every Sunday during the season of Illumination. So that's happening.
Is it a bring your own mat type of thing?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
That's important to know. Yeah.
Yeah. Everything is kind of grassroots,
Right.
self-sufficient.
Obviously, the number of things that's going on is telling us that, Illumination is too big for 3 days anyway. So
there you
we're
go.
lucky.
Yeah,
This
yeah.
year, it's expanded to fill all of a season. That's exciting.
Yeah, so I'll see you out there.
All right.
On the
You
riverfront.
will. You will.
Great.
Okay.
Thanks.